I thought Jeremy's.
It's time!
What's kicking everybody? We're back for another episode of Picket Fights. Tom was saying something, and then I think we forgot Bruce Buffer starts talking there. What were you saying, Tom?
Yeah, I was saying that Jeremy Stevens is old as dog shit, and I did not realize he was in the UFC. I thought he was doing BKFC. Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
No, you're absolutely correct. Actually,
didn't he try to square up with Conor McGregor or something?
He did. And that may be the reason why he's no longer in BKFC, because somebody else that had beef with Conor for a little bit there and is no longer in BKFC and was like the queen of BKFC for quite some time was Mike Perry. You don't see Mike Perry around anymore. And Conor McGregor, like, everybody thought it was a joke. He said to him on X, he was like, "That's why you're fired." And then Mike Perry just hasn't been in a BKFC event for like a year. And he's like, "Damn, maybe that motherfucker
Maybe I was fired,
man. Maybe he really did fire me, man." That's why that's like Mike Perry impression without saying anything that's
expletives. Well, listen, I mean, he's got a round 3 win by a doctor stoppage from a cut against Jimmy Rivera, unanimous decision win against Bobby Taylor, and he stopped Eddie Alvarez. So now he's coming back to the UFC to fight Mason Jones, who's on a 4-fight win streak, a minus 480, back into the UFC. Didn't Mason Jones used to be in the UFC? Yeah, Ludovic Klein. We've been doing the show for so long that I remember guys who were in the UFC, then they're not in the UFC, don't even recognize it, and then you're like, oh shit, they're back 5 years later. 2 years later, whatever. Alexander Figueiredo, Cage Warriors, not bad.
Yeah.
So I'm still going Mason Jones here. Well, we kind of just jumped into it, so you do your thing. You talk to the people. Let them know.
I was waiting for like the prelim notables thing to flash on the screen, but yeah, I am not. Yo, that was hilarious. I'm not picking anybody in this fight because fuck Jeremy Stevens. Jeremy, little heathen Stevens. Hey, buddy, you're like 40 years old. I think you should stop calling yourself little heathen.
Medium-sized heathen.
Remember when they used to be like, "Oh, but it's so hard to change your nickname," and then Chase Hooper went from the teenage dream to the dream like overnight.
Yeah, dude. And if you're gonna change your nickname, like the Dream is not what I would change it to. Like,
yeah, just hire a PR team overnight and be like, "Hi, can you please change all of my my Tapology, my Wikipedia?"
Yeah, that's pretty sus, man. The Dream.
Yeah. The Dream is sus.
The Dream as your nickname as a 26-year-old dude. It's kind of sus. Who are you, Shawn Michaels?
It's better than the teenage dream. I feel like it's like, okay, let's stick with
but we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Like, dude, I want him to call himself the Octopus because of how he just slithers around people.
It's not like it matters that much what your nickname is, but if it's something that's weird, then it matters. And Little Heathen is a little weird. But yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, we have been doing the show for so long that like the last time we talked about him, he was fighting in the UFC years ago, and then he had his run with PFL, and I think he was supposed to be in that GFL or whatever that's going to be.
Oh yeah, I think you're right, and that totally fell apart, but hasn't incompletely, but kind of really did, and is not going to have an event, but.
Yeah, because like speaking of Jimmy Rivera was the guy that was in the UFC for quite some time, and he's another guy that like I think he was supposed to fight over there, and now he's like back with BKFC. So who the fuck knows what's going on over there? They were throwing money at the wall. But yeah, anyways, I'm not going with anyone in this fight. Long-winded response to just say like, both of these guys have been out of the UFC, back in the UFC, old. Yeah. And this is this isn't even a prelim notable.
I was just going to say, what would you say if I said this was a main card? Had to get it in there.
Yeah, I would say that this is a weird way to open the main card. Jeremy Stevens? Okay, bro. Like, you know what? I will say the one thing. Oh, man. So it's not even it's a main card pick. I have to give a pick. Like, I can't abstain. All right. Well, who's he fighting? Mason Jones. I'm gonna go with Mason Jones because, yeah, Jeremy Stevens. He'll give you an exciting fight, but he's not gonna go out there and win this one. I don't think. Like, and like BKFC is weird, where like some guys are just straight up built for BKFC for some fucking reason. Like Mike Perry is built for BKFC. Jimmy Rivera does very well in BKFC. Chad Mendez now years later does well in BKFC, and these are guys that were competent MMA fighters. Chad Mendez a bit more competent than others. I believe he finished Eddie Alvarez in BKFC too. But, and then Eddie Alvarez was a very accomplished MMA fighter, and it doesn't necessarily translate to BKFC. Some guys are very good in BKFC that are not great in MMA, and it's usually those guys that had incredible chins and would walk people down and get beat by decision or submission, and Jeremy Stevens is one of those guys. I think Jeremy Stevens, he'll put on a fun fight, but he's going to get outclassed this week, so give me Mason Jones. There's my pick. What do we got next?
Well, I'm going to also go with Mason Jones. When you look at his record here, he was in the UFC. He lost to Mike Davis, was beating Alan Patrick until an eye poke, beat David Onama, and then lost a unanimous decision against Ludovic Klein that I was just showing over here. Maybe wasn't as close as the show, but it was at least somewhat competitive. Mason Jones had more total strikes, fewer significant strikes over 3 on takedowns. Ludovic Klein's not bad, so I think the level of competition is a lot better. So got cut for the UFC, and I'm not really seeing why. It doesn't seem to be a ton of reason why. And then you got pick up 4 wins on Cage Warriors. Meanwhile, Jeremy Stevens can't fight in MMA. He can only fight in what seems to be bare knuckle boxing. So for those reasons, this is MMA. Mason Jones is a good bit younger too. I think he's 8 years younger than Jeremy Stevens. So all the signs pointing to Mason Jones minus 480, heavy favorite. The only reason I would pause here is because Mason Jones against Ludovic Klein was a minus 400 favorite and lost by decision there. But I think Ludovic Klein, a lot better competition. He's a little bit longer, a little bit taller, a little bit more bulky than Jeremy Stevens, who's 38 years old. Stevens has kind of got that like old guy bod now that used to be strong, but now just kind of look a little flabby. So give me Mason Jones, the younger guy in his prime from Wales. And yeah, I don't have anything else to say about that one. I'm going with Mason Jones to get it done, even at a minus 480. Moving up the card, Cameron.
Wait, I want to say something real quick. I'm the strongest 145 pounder up on this stage right now. And when
who the fuck is that guy?
Guys, they go to sleep. Who the fuck is that guy? Classic Jeremy Stevens. That's back when you could call him Little Heathen about 20 years ago. What do we got next? I'm sorry to cut you off here.
Hardest hitting 145er right here. This guy TKOs people. When I knock people out, they don't move. They're not. Who the fuck?
Look at how proud he was when he said that too. Like they don't
Those people.
move.
When I knock people out, they don't move.
Yeah, that was a badass line. Yeah, I fucking got it. Oh, answer that, Connor.
Who the
yeah, what are you gonna say,
that
bitch?
guy?
Oh, fuck, he got me. Shit.
Literally,
he was so proud. He was like, "Yeah, fuck you. Like, follow that shit."
Dude, he had that plan too. Like that's the funniest part. Is somebody backstage was like, "All right, say this. Like you're gonna get under his skin. He's gonna call you out for a fight now. Who the fuck is that guy?" Like that's.
And you genuinely see Connor sitting there, like he looks to the left, looks to the right. Who the fuck is that? Like, he didn't even look around to even know who it was. Like what?
Yeah, because Conor McGregor, listen, at that time was the best in the world. Dude, when I didn't know much. Conor got me into the sport, and to me, Conor was the greatest of all time, once upon a time. And he had a clear trajectory to the top, and Jeremy Stevens had nothing to do with that. So, yes, who the fuck is that guy? Speaking of who the fuck is that guy, if you're a little bit out of touch in the sport, I had to do a little bit of research. You may be like me. You might be asking yourself, who the fuck is that guy? These are guys that are relatively new to the UFC. Fill us in on those nicknames, Tom. Oh, okay, there we go.
The baby-faced killer and no nickname for Sirhan Siddiqui.
Yeah.
Sirhan?
Sirhan. In case you're not familiar with Sirhan, well, just do a Google search, I suppose. Yeah, I have to pull it up on my own Tapology. I apologize because their font for whatever reason it comes through too small on the StreamYard. Shout out StreamYard. All right, Cameron Smotherman versus Sergey Saidi. How are you choosing to say this? Sergey Saidi?
Sirhai City.
Sergey City versus Cameron Smotherman. All right, so I'm going with Cameron Smotherman because his name it's fitting. He's a smothering man. He's gonna go in there and he's gonna smother you. He's gonna smother you so hard you're gonna lose the fight this weekend, Sergey Saidi. Um, yeah, no, Cameron Smotherman had to go back and watch both of these guys. Now they've both been on the contenders. Oh, I'm sorry, actually only Sergey Saidi has, but Sergey Saidi was on the contender series, knocked out Ramon Tavares, rematched him in the UFC, lost the decision. Beats Garrett Armfield, though. Garrett Armfield, alumnus of The Ultimate Fighter, I believe. Not a bad guy, good guy, small fighter, local guy to us. Like I'm pretty sure. Or no, is he more of a Southern guy? I'm getting him confused, but I like Garrett Armfield. He's not a bad guy. I think he fought Brad Katona in the Ultimate Fighter finale and got decimated by Brad Katona. And so for Saidi, that's a good victory. And then you have Brad Smotherman, who the one that really stood out to me. I went back, Jake Hadley. It wasn't a fight that really stood out to me, but Jake Hadley's good competition. Jake Hadley's a really solid guy. And for Cameron Smotherman to go out there and beat him with such a decisive decision that in the way that he did in his UFC debut, that really speaks to me a lot. Because we were pretty hot on Jake Hadley once upon a time. I mean, it's just supposed to show how long we've been doing this, but right, were we not?
Yeah, no, we were. I'm with you.
And I mean, another guy that I was hot on, like, here's to show how far that goes for me, is like Cameron Simon, and Cameron Simon gets absolutely murdered last weekend. But yeah, but I'm gonna go with Cameron Smotherman. I just think full skill set, full solid guy, could win a good decision victory, and yeah, he's very solid. He looked very good in that last fight against Jake Hadley. So give me Cameron Smotherman, the babyface killer. I like that name a lot. What do you got, Tom?
I like this one to go the distance first and foremost. These guys are they crank out decisions inside the UFC. I do not.
Oh no.
It's all right. All good. We'll save it.
I thought we were in the stream.
No, all good. I don't like that you knocked the guy out and then he comes back and he beats you via split decision for Sergey Saidi. Garrett Armfield split decision. You got a unanimous decision over Jake Hadley, which I think bodes better for him. He's got a submission over Ryan Mandala. And then I really like back here a year and a half ago. For whatever reason, I always kind of like Mando Gutierrez. Getting a jumping knee KO, TKO over him, I think speaks volumes about what this guy can do. I think he's a little bit more dangerous on the feet. Both of them, I think Tapology has this probably going to a decision. I just think Smotherman has a few more ways, a few more tools in the toolbox to get it done. We've seen it in the UFC, and I just feel a lot more comfortable going with him here in this matchup of relatively newcomers inside of the UFC. Moving up the card, Daniel Marcos, because I know Keith's going to ask, Sankora is his nickname, against Montel Quick Jackson, no C. Keith, what are you feeling? What are your immediate thoughts on no C, Montel Quick Jackson, and Sankora Daniel Marcos?
Well, one thing I want to point out is, like, I have been seeing some people on the internet talking about how this is like a subpar card, shitty card, da-da-da. Yo, it's really not. Like, we've just been breaking down the main card. I do have one prelim notable. Let's stick around till the end when we tell you to like, comment, and subscribe right after our rundown. So between that and the beginning of our rundown, I'm going to give you a pick from the prelims that I love. But yeah, we've just been talking about this main card, and I'm actually impressed with it, besides Jeremy Stevens. I like this fight a lot. The last one was great. Those are two hot prospects. Going to be a fun fight. This one I really like, though, because Montel Jackson, 14-2. Daniel Marcos, 17-0. Dude, to have 17 professional fights, win all 17 at 32 years old. Daniel Marcos is just entering his prime. I like the guy a lot, but Montel Jackson has crazy, crazy knockout power in his last couple fights. last two, Damon Blackshear, knockout. And then you have Ronnie Yaya, who I kind of like Ronnie Yaya, another knockout. Daniel Marcos beating good guys. Adrian Yanez, John Castaneda, not bad. Davey Grant, okay, solid competition. Arichi Lang, that one went to a no contest. It's a really tough one. Both guys have fought really great competition. I just think that I am going to go against the people of Tapology. They're really going with Montel Jackson. I am going to go with Daniel Marcos. I feel like his fight style is so crisp. He's so well-rounded. His boxing is nice. His kick game is nice. He's really good in the clinch. It's just like, as long as he can avoid the heavy hands of Montel Jackson, which I think he can, he's really good with distance management, chin movement. There's a lot of stuff I like about him, and he's not undefeated for no reason. And it's a close fight on paper. He's plus 170. There isn't a hole in his game that I think that Montel Jackson is necessarily able to expose. So I'm willing to hear what you got to say, Tom. Prove me wrong. Let's go.
No, I was kind of hoping that you were going with Montel Jackson because I'm going to be going with Daniel Marcos here. I like the 17-0. I don't know how he ended up as a plus 170 here, but right. I really, really like the win over Adrian Yanez by split decision. I think it's back here. Simon Oliveira by knockout. Davey Grant by split decision. Arichi Lang by unintentional groin strike got it ruled a no contest. I think Daniel Marcos is just kind of a grinder. He got a good fight IQ, and he's really well-rounded. Whereas Montel Jackson, he's got some knockouts, but he's got a knockout over Damon Blackshear, submission artist, and Rana Yaya, 40-year-old submission artist. And then you have decision against Julio Arce, not bad. JP Bay's decision, unanimous. And Jesse Strader knocked him out. I think that was his first UFC fight, 5-1. There for Jesse Strader, 33 years old, fights just about every year or so. So that's a lot of time off for Montel Jackson. I think a little bit younger, a little bit smaller than Daniel Marcos. I just think he's a little bit more scrappy and he's a little bit more well-rounded. I think he's going to have a good enough stand-up game that he's not going to get knocked out by Montel Jackson. And I think we're going to see Daniel Marcos kind of get a decision victory here, probably maybe like a two rounds to 1, 29-28 kind of decision, potentially split, but you never can predict the judges. But something about Daniel Marcos just makes me think that he's going to match up well here. 76% on Tapology, minus 200 going towards Montel Jackson. But hey, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to go with the underdog here, the undefeated guy to retain that 0.
Yeah, he's got really good head movement and a really good chin. So I think that a lot of those shots that Montel Jackson would be putting those other guys out with are gonna miss Daniel Marcos, and he's gonna have fun out there. So yeah, I'm right there with you, bro. I love the pick.
All right, now we get into the meat and potatoes of the card. I know who I'm picking, but I'm interested to see which way you go with this.
Well, not too long ago, this guy was undefeated, Daniel Rodriguez. I'm just going to say it right now. I'm taking D-Rod here. I could see you. The rest of the world can't blink twice if we have the same pick, Tom. I'm looking at you. Blink twice. You're not blinking at all. You're taking Santiago Ponzinibbio. Oh, my goodness. Well, unless you froze. I thought you were frozen or you couldn't hear me. I thought that D-Rod was an obvious pick here. I like Santiago Ponzinibbio a lot. Trust me, I love the guy. I've picked him so many. But see, this is tough. It is really tough. But D-Rod, but then you think about the fights with guys like Ian Gary, where D-Rod just gets dismantled over a couple rounds, beat to decision. Santiago Ponzinibbio, he breaks you down in the same way that those decision fighters do, except that instead of just going to a decision or becoming lackluster by the end of the fight, like an Ian Gary type of guy, he actually looks for the finish. This is a tough one. Oh yeah. People with Tapology are going with Ponzinibbio. Yeah, it's just tough because mentally I think back to D-Rod, the days of old D-Rod, undefeated D-Rod, when he would just go out there and outbox somebody, classy outbox. Ponzinibbio's got hands, he's got grappling, and D-Rod just hasn't shown it like that lately. All right, sorry, pal. We're gonna have to pick the same way on this fight. I'm going Santiago Ponzinibbio to go out there and just outclass D-Rod. What do you think?
Son of a bitch. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think Santiago Ponzinibbio, he's 30, they're basically the same age, very similar build. Here's the thing, Santiago Ponzinibbio has a lot more muscle on him, whereas D-Rod carries around a lot of like fat. Yeah, and I think D-Rod has good cardio, but we just haven't seen very good showings of him. He's 2-3 over his last 5. The win is against Alex Morono via split decision and Li Jing Liang over split decision. That's a rough 5. The losses are to, submission via Neil Magny, knockout by Ian Gary on short notice, I think. Kelvin Gastelum, maybe that one was short notice, lost by a decision there and a good showing by Kelvin Gastelum. That's what made us think Kelvin was back. And then you have Santiago Ponzinibbio. His losses are Michel Pereira by split decision, Kevin Holland he got knocked out by, and Muslim Salikov split decision. Muslim Salikov, we've seen him go on to do great things. So I don't know how much I hate that split decision loss there. He did get knocked out by Kevin Holland. Santiago Ponzinibbio is super streaky. So this is absolutely possible for D-Rod to come away with the victory here. But all in all, I like the more recent knockout by Carlston Harris by Santiago Ponzinibbio, knockout over Alex Morono there. Yeah. Split decision. I mean, MMA math doesn't necessarily always work, but Alex Morono split decision victory for D-Rod. Knocked out Alex Morono did Santiago Ponzinibbio. And I think if you're going to line up just straight boxing, I like the leg kicks and the active legs from Santiago Ponzinibbio. I think he's got a little bit more power in his hands at this point. And I just feel like more recently from D-Rod, I just see him kind of post and end up trying to get the victory at the end. He just always leaves me wanting a little bit more, and not in a good way. Like, oh, I can't wait for the next D-Rod fight. Being like, come on, I feel like you got more in you. So for that reason, I'm going with Santiago Ponzinibbio. Win, lose, or tie. I think Santiago Ponzinibbio goes in there and he throws hands till he dies. Maybe not the smartest fighter. I think D-Rod is maybe a little bit too calculated, a little bit too reserved. Does get touched up a lot, and I don't like the prospect of him getting touched up by Santiago Ponzinibbio, a guy with a lot of power. When was he got knocked out by Ian Gary. I'm trying to find, when was D-Rod's last knockout? When was his last finish? We're talking.
I don't think he's ever had a UFC finish, bro.
Preston Parsons.
Damn, that's crazy.
In 21. So yeah, give me Ponzinibbio to get this one done. I think he's a little more versatile and he's got more ways to win the fight.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, he also finished fucking Neil Magny. All right, my bad, yo.
He finished Neil Magny?
Oh, no. Neil Magny finished him. My bad.
Yeah, that sounds more like it.
You're not wrong. Yeah,
he finished Tim Means, Dirty Bird, by submission in 2020. And Quentin McCotch. Oh, that's not on the UFC. So Dwight Grant. So he's got a couple finishes, but we got to go back a ways to get to them, and of no one with a name. So
yeah, literally 2 finishes, and then yeah, it's crazy because he was like a nasty boxer when he first got in the UFC, and then I just feel like he just hasn't been the same in the past couple of years. But you fight better guys, the level of competition goes up, and you don't do as well, then that's what happens. But speaking of great competition, rising.
There it is. Good segue.
Bo Nickel versus Reiner de Ritter. Reiner de Ritter now in his 3rd fight since coming to the UFC.
This is a good one, dude. Oh, God, this is a good one.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of tension around this one, right? Because Reiner de Ritter is an extremely accomplished grappler. He's awesome. I love him because he's Dutch. And, I got some Dutch heritage. Double champ once upon a time at ONE FC, makes his way to the UFC, beat GM3, and was it Kevin Holland as well in his last fight, right? Yep, Kevin Holland. So awesome job in the UFC so far, crushing it. Fighting a guy that's absolutely undefeated in MMA and in the UFC, Bo Nickel. Bo Nickel, his last fight around was a little funny, right? He fought Scottish fellow. Who are you thinking of? What's his name? Paul Craig. Paul Craig. And it wasn't a great fight. it was really dog shit, honestly. He didn't want to take down Paul Craig the whole time because Paul Craig's submission game coming back good. And so, like, there's a little bit of beef behind this one. Reiner de Ritter is in, like, a bunch of clips this week, like, hey, Bo, nobody wants to see us strike. Like, I'm great at jiu-jitsu. You're an American wrestler. Let's go at it. Like, but if Bo is scared to go to the ground with him, Reiner de Ritter is a far more accomplished kickboxer. He's got that Dutch kickboxing style that Paul Craig does not necessarily have. Paul Craig's best offense is his defense, and he wants to get cracked in the face, go to the ground, and try and throw up a triangle or a submission, like a guillotine or something. This was nonsense. This Bo Nickel fight. It's frozen. Oh, there we go. It's frozen on my end. I don't know about anybody else, but yeah, this was how to overhand. Yeah. Okay. Good. Like, yes, he touched Paul Craig. He won the fight. Was not a fun fight at all. We want to see you go get finishes, Bo. Like, you're a top prospect. And this week, I think that he's gonna try and do more of the same. And that's why I find this to be, I haven't looked at the Topology voting, but I find this to be a far more challenging fight for Bo Nickel. Yeah, 56% for Reiner de Ritter. Reiner de Ritter, actually, and a lot of people voting that he'll win by submission. Quite possible. I think that Reiner de Ritter is way better in the standing up, in the kickboxing game, mean body kicks, good in that realm. And Bo Nickel's going to try and do this like overhand, step back jab, fade away. And Reiner, I think, is going to make it too difficult for him. Bo's going to want to go to the ground. Reiner's going to make it very difficult for him there, too. He's scared to grapple Paul Craig. If he was that confident in his abilities, he would have taken him down and submitted him himself. There's guys who can do it. There's guys that have done it. So, I just think Reiner de Ritter is going to be too overwhelming in the stand-up to make Bo try and stand with him like Paul Craig. And then when it goes to the ground, Reiner's also going to be overwhelming there, and it's going to be either a finish or a decision victory for Reiner de Ritter. So give me RDR. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, Paul Craig is simply not the caliber of fighter that RDR is. And you look back at the competition that Bo Nickel has fought inside of the UFC, Donovan Beard by submission, Jamie Pickett by submission, Val Woodburn by knockout because Val was looking for the submission. Val's also 5'8" and a muscle hamster, so didn't have much going for him anyway. That was basically an opportunity for Bo Nickel to style on somebody. Cody Brundage by submission, not a real threat in the UFC. I don't think Cody Brundage has ever held a title in his life in a premier promotion. RDR was a two-weight champion at one. Yeah, sure, he lost him, but he's 34 years old, so he's not that far outside of his prime, if he's even outside of his prime. He had two losses to some of the best that one has to offer, and I believe there was a knee surgery in there. I could be wrong on that, but RDR, the 3 fights since he's went in there, looked great. He submitted Kevin Holland. He submitted GM3. He knocked out Magomed Karsev, and I'm just going to blast through that name and not try to talk about how I mispronounced it, but I just think a lot of what you were saying, I think Bo Nickel is going to maybe try to go for the takedown, but there's a reason why he didn't take down Paul Craig. He didn't really even attempt it. Because did he want to just go out there and show his striking display because he's so confident in striking? Or maybe, just maybe, was he concerned about the defense that Paul Craig offered off of his back and the submissions there? And maybe because he comes from a grappling background that was just a little bit too much of a risk that Bo Nickel wanted to take. Against RDR, there's nowhere to hide. He can strike better than Bo Nickel, that's for sure. He can also grapple better than Bo Nickel, at least when it comes to submission grappling. Sure, Bo's a little bit younger, but we're talking about 5 years. And Reiner de Ritter, he's a little bit bigger when it comes to height. He's got a little bit of a reach advantage. And more importantly, he's got a pedigree of MMA experience, high caliber, top of the food chain, high echelon MMA experience in grappling defense, submission defense, submission offense, striking, defensive striking, distance management, up against the cage. I think RDR, this is his fight. I think this is really where Bo loses. Now, that all being said, the UFC would obviously much prefer Bo Nickel to win. So if this does go to a decision, I feel so inclined that maybe the vote might be in for Bo Nickel to squeak one out in what everybody considers like a
Robert.
Yeah, I was gonna go with a John Jones versus not
Gustafson?
Anthony Smith, but like what's the one where he
Oh,
basically lost? Yeah,
Reyes.
a John Jones, Dominic Reyes type of victory where like Bo Nickel gets it, but everybody who knows a thing or two knows a thing or two that really Bo Nickel shouldn't have got it. I could see it going down that way,
Yeah,
which is why I might want to stay away from the bet. Was that?
Pimblett and Gordon.
Yeah,
Had
Jared Gordon. Yeah, exactly. So I could see some funkiness like that happening, but I think the smart money is going to be on RDR. Look, minus 280 on Bo Nickel against a Division 1 championship caliber fighter. I don't like that line. I do not like Bo Nickel at minus 280.
Yeah.
I love RDR at plus 225. So if I'm looking for value, that's where I'm putting my money because I think this is a pick 'em fight. I'd probably even take RDR at minus 130. So to get him at plus 225, give it to me. Tapology, 56% on DeRitter. I don't know about the submission. I really don't know if I see that as much, but
when's he been tested? And then something else I just want to say, like, who's tested his jiu-jitsu defense at all, his submission defense? And then something else I just want to say, too, is
he hasn't even really been in a precarious position in the UFC.
No, never. All of his fights have been easy until Paul Craig, and then he took an easy route with Paul Craig, too. But just something else about this fight. Reiner de Ritter is also easy to sell, and a loss to. So here's where like WWF shit comes into it, right? You always put your opponent over. You sell them. That's how you sell the fight. That's why the best guys that hold belts, they always say they give their opponent kudos, right? They're always like, this guy's the best. He can go fuck anybody up. And that's why I'm better than him, and I'm going to go beat his ass. He's beat everybody to get to me, and now I'm going to go kill him. He's so interesting. And for the UFC, they're a promotion. They try to do the same thing. You say to them, like, all right, we have Bo Nickel, this guy that we've been building the past couple of years. Even if he loses to Reiner de Ritter, now you have an instant sell on Reiner de Ritter. It's like, oh, my God, we've been building Bo Nickel. Look how good Reiner de Ritter must have been to beat this guy, Bo Nickel, that we've been selling. And, oh, by the way, he's also a 2-division champ from another promotion. And, he's got all these accolades from outside. Now you can also sell Bo Nickel further, too, if Reiner de Ritter has, like, a better career going forward. Like, now you have rematches and stuff like that, potentially. So, like, it's not that bad of a thing if Reiner de Ritter wins for the UFC. Like, I think that's why they made this fight, because they know that the Bo Nickel stock is low after the Paul Craig fight, So it's like, all right, we can kind of sell this one a little bit. But anyways, yeah, I'm going with RDR. I really like it. I don't think that there's going to be any judge skewing, but who knows? We'll see. And then finally, one that I hope there's no judge skewing in is the main event. Corey Sandhagen versus Davison Figueiredo. Actually, the judges may skew it for good old hometown boy like Corey Sandhagen. He's not necessarily hometown, but as opposed to a Brazilian and Davison Figueiredo, I guess in Des Moines, Iowa, that does make Corey Sandhagen the hometown favorite. I'm going to go with Corey Sandhagen here. We've met Corey Sandhagen. You and I have both shaken hands with the man. I love Corey Sandhagen, one of my favorites. He doesn't fight as often as I would like him to, or as often as he used to. But now that he's a main event man, he picks I think it's a smart career move for him, right? Like, they haven't offered him a title fight in quite some time, as far as we know. They did kind of talk about maybe a fight with O'Malley for a little bit there, but good for Corey because he's really getting his bag. He's doing these on the road fight nights, whatever the non-Apex fight nights are. He's making his money. He's going out there doing his thing, and he's fighting the best competition and hoping to be called for a title fight soon. And Davison Figueiredo's up there. Davison making a run right now. Well, lost his last fight, but still doing very, very well at 135 after moving up from 125. Had that quadrilogy against Brandon Moreno. And who's that last fight against for Davison Figueiredo? Peter Yan. That was a tough fight.
Yan.
That was a fucking scrap. Peter Yan, one of the best at 135 right now, or ever potentially. And you think about that Aljo knee, how different the timeline would be. Maybe that fight never even takes place if Piotr Yan didn't do that. But whatever. So yeah, losing to Piotr Yan, one of the best boxers in the UFC of all time, period. We'll say that. Corey Sandhagen coming off of the Umar Nurmagomedov fight. He did a really good job in that fight. You got to, you have to give it to him, right? Like, yes, he lost, and it was whatever. It was a 5-round decision loss, but the way that he fought one of those guys of that pedigree from AKA and the Dagestan and the whole thing, like, all right, good for you, Corey Sandhagen. You did way better than anybody thought that you were going to. I don't think Davis and Figueiredo is like championship level anymore. I feel like he's dwindling. He's fallen off. The weight cut that he did for years and years and years is probably taking a toll on his body, which ages you more rapidly. And I just think the guys, as you get, well, he's very talented, but 135 is very talented. 135, 145, and 155 might be the most talented divisions in the UFC. And there's a lot of disparity down at 125. I think Corey Sandhagen's too complete, and he learned a lot from that Umar fight. And like every time you see Corey, he just seems to get better. And like it wasn't even a skill issue for him in the Umar fight, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was just more of like an aggression thing. Like I think he didn't want to get caught and stuff, so he wasn't pushing it too hard with the grappling or the striking. I think he's going to let a lot of that go this fight because Davis and Figueiredo isn't as big of a threat in so many realms. So, definitely give me Corey Sandhagen. I think I'm going to take him by a 5-round decision, but he's going to get it done. And it's maybe he wins like 4-1, 3-2. But yeah, give me Corey Sandhagen. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I was just going back and I was trying to look at the fight cards here. He won. Some people say the second round. Some people say he won no rounds. I agree with you. I think he was a little tentative there. I remember when Corey Sandhagen used to say like, "Oh, I'm coming out and I'm just want to kill people. I want to annihilate people." And I wonder if in that Umar fight maybe he got away from that a little bit. I mean, he's got everything in his corner here. He's much longer, uses the legs. He's 5'11" with only a 70-inch reach. You got a 5'5" versus 68-inch reach, and Davis and Figueiredo. I also don't like guys who their gym is named after them. So like he's Team Figueiredo. Like I think that sometimes can create a propensity where you get yes men around you, and it leads you to be a little bit less sharp than you otherwise would have been if you're in a gym with a bunch of killers and you're just iron sharpen iron. So I think that's kind of point in the box of Corey Sandhagen. We know Corey has great cardio, training at Elevation fight team, and you got some good guys out there. They're fighting in Des Moines, Iowa, so Elevation is not going to be a factor, but I think Corey Sandhagen's going to have the cardio to withstand. At 37 years old, now he's a little bit heavier now, so it's not as challenging of a weight cut, but at these lower weight classes, the older you get, it takes more and more away from you. At 33 years old, Corey Sandhagen, I think he's gotten more tattoos. I could be confusing him with Dan Hooker, but Corey Sandhagen's got that awesome back piece fighting out of Aura, Colorado, essentially. It's not Aurora, it's Aura with Corey Sandhagen's there, the Sandman. He's got a bunch of sick nicknames. Like, I love Corey Sandhagen, the nicest guy, dynamic kicker, really dynamic striker, never runs out of cardio. Has fought all the best guys. That decision loss against Umar, we talked about a little bit. He's got wins over Rob Font, Marlon Vera split decision when Chito Vera was looking really good. And now, again, if you go MMA math, Davison Figueiredo, he's got the submission over Cody Garbrandt, you, me, and who else? But Marlon Vera, he's got a unanimous decision victory and a Rob Font unanimous decision victory. A lot of similar opponents in these guys' records. But I just think Corey Sandhagen is a little bit too dynamic, a little bit too, I don't know if I want to say quick, because Davison Figueiredo is still very quick for being 37 and a half years old. He's got solid grappling. I don't know that we're going to see a ton of grappling. I actually think that we could see Davison Figueiredo hold Corey Sandhagen up against the cage, which is something that Corey Sandhagen has had a little bit of a weakness of, has to work on getting out from behind that cage and then getting back to striking distance. If he does have a downfall, that could be it. I think Davison Figueiredo maybe holds him up against the cage, acquires a bunch of strikes by striking there, but doesn't do a ton of damage. But overall, the judges have to go with who controlled the octagon and who was in control of the fight more, and that's maybe how I could see Corey Sandhagen losing, but I really don't want him to do that. I would love to see this guy who's basically on the outskirts of his prime here just put it all together, be vicious, be aggressive, and be violent, and go out there and really put on a show. Davison Figueiredo is a great competition. Iron sharpens iron, like we said. You need a good dance partner to put on a good fight, and I think this is going to be a great main event, and I'm picking Corey Sandhagen. He's minus 450, 78%. of the people on Tapology have this going to decision. I don't know that I like him minus 450. I don't know if I would take him straight up minus 450. I think maybe Corey Sandhagen by decision is a good bet. I don't know how much more or less you're going to get because of that, but I think Sandhagen's ultimately going to be the winner. And then maybe you can get like a over 3.5, over 4.5 type of rounds bet there to make that a little bit sweeter. If you don't want to pick Sandhagen at minus 450, but at the end of the day, I'm going with a Sandman.
Yeah, right there with you, brother. Right there with you. And at minus 450, great parlay piece. And I like the decision pick as well. He's a extremely tactical, like Sun Tzu Art of War type fighter. So give me Corey.
Give me Sandhagen and RDR for like probably balance each other out, you know?
It's yeah. This is gonna be a good card. I'm looking forward to this one. So
sure.
put a bow on it. Do our pick rundown. Let's switch things up. Why don't you go first for us, Tom?
All right, I'm gonna go first. We didn't talk it on the prelims, but God, I think Juliana Miller is just an atrocious MMA fighter. So I'm going with Ivana Petrovic for no other basis other than that. Moving up the cards. I know you're going to pick her, so I'm going to pick her too. You are a king at picking queens of MMA. I'm going with Jillian Robertson to get the win over a sneakily aging Marina Rodriguez. Main card time, Mason Jones over Little Heathen. That seems like a good parlay piece. Cameron Smotherman over Sirhan City, Sirhan. Give me the undefeated Daniel Marcos over Montel Jackson. That's going to be a good fight, and I really don't have a strong indication on that either way. I like Ponzinibbio over D-Rod. I do like that a lot. I like RDR over the undefeated Bo Nickel. I think he's just going to overmatch him. Is too good a competition. And the Sandman. I like Adam Sandler, and I like Corey Sandhagen. What do you think, Keith?
I like your picks. I'm going to give mine now. Two that we didn't talk about on the pick rundown. I mean, on the prelim notables. Gaston Bolaños over Quang Lee. And I'm also taking Jillian Robertson over Marina Rodriguez. Tom said sneakily aging. She is 38 years old. She looks great for 38, but very surprising. Snuck right up on us. And you know what? I'm also going to take – it's a tough one. I'm going to take Miesha Tate Cupcake over Yana Kunitskaya Santos, the artist FKA, formerly known as Yana Kunitskaya, now Yana Santos. I'm taking Miesha Tate in that fight. All right, the ones that we talked about, Mason Jones over Jeremy Stevens, Cameron Smotherman over Sirhan. Daniel Marcos over Montel Jackson, Santiago Ponzinibbio over Daniel D. Rodriguez, Ryan DeRitter over Bo Nickel, and Corey Sandhagen over Davison Figueiredo. All right, well,
hell yeah.
That just about wraps it up for UFC Fight Night, Des Moines, Iowa. Like that's
the fighting capital of Iowa.
Yo, I can't believe the UFC might be on Netflix soon. That's really insane.
That's gonna be sick. If there's no pay-per-views, I'm literally gonna do a backflip, and I can't do a backflip. So if that happens, you'll see me in the next show with like a neck brace or whatever from Celebrate.
Dude, I still think you're gonna have pay-per-views. I think they're gonna keep the same model where it's like 3.
But I mean, you're probably right. But the only glimmer of hope is that Dana White said, "Hey, we could do away with the pay-per-view model." Like if Netflix gives them $1 billion,
I just want to tell you,
they can't be making that much from $80 pay-per-views. They can't. They have like 17 buys.
That guy also said once upon a time that we're not boxing. There's a reason nobody watches boxing. It's because their pay-per-views have a bunch of no names on them, and they want to charge you close to $100. Well, guess what? That's kind of what the UFC is like now. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of what they became.
I mean, you're right. Dana White is a liar, so.
Yeah, he's a businessman. I remember the days of like, bro, a card had fucking like a Bisping title fight, Cruz versus Uriah Faber 2, and then like fucking like Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier fighting separately on the card. And it was just like, bro, why have we fallen so far? You know, why are there women on the main card? What, guys? What? Anyways, like, comment, subscribe, please. Commenting helps. We miss our friends. We had some friends we made over the past few weeks. X, Instagram, @_picking winners, @picking Keith, @picking fights Tom on X, both of those. Spotify, like, comment, subscribe. Am I missing anything?
Keep on fighting.